but you have to listen. Just let somebody come and blow you away. Maybe somebody pays you twice what you thought you were going to get, and you say, hey, this time it's worth it. We're going to be a better franchise for the trade.
Keith Law with us from ESPN. Of course, his book, Smart Baseball, has been out since the end of April, so you can check that out as we visit here on MASN All Access. And Keith, if you're the Orioles right now, and clearly they're not going to sign the top-tier free agent pitchers.
Right.
They may not be able to sign or be comfortable signing the second tier. So what is the play when you just look days ago and see Stanton in New York? The Red Sox will have an answer to that. We know that. They always do. And the arms race, the rich get richer in this division.
I could understand if the Orioles said we're not going to pay Darvish or Arrieta what they're likely to get in free agency. Top-tier free agent starters can often be terrible investments. So I don't tend to criticize teams who say we're not going to swim in the deepest end of the pool in free agency. However, the starting pitching has been the Achilles heel of this Orioles, of the franchise, for the last 3 years. 2 years ago, they essentially made the playoffs in spite of awful starting pitching, and then awful starting pitching sank them in 2017. So if you want to compete at all in 2018, you have to do something to address the rotation. It's not going to come from within the system. So they would have to get comfortable with somebody, or maybe a few somebodies, in the second tier, what you were talking about, the Lance Lynns. He's the name who comes up with a lot of clubs who just need an innings guy. Somebody who could come and give the Orioles 30 starts of league average pitching would actually really help them. They're going to score runs, but they need bulk innings from the rotation, which they have not gotten in the last 3 years.
Is there a trade out there that could help them in pitching?
If they were willing to part with an Austin Hayes or a Ryan Mountcastle, there probably would be. But the sense I've gotten, they love those guys. And those are very good prospects, too. I would be reluctant to part with them unless I were getting a real impact pitcher who was going to help me for a good 2-3 years and make my club a contender. Otherwise, you say, oh, these are the young building blocks for when Manny leaves as a free agent, for when Chris Davis has to be benched or released at some point for his contract.
It sounds like for Oriole ownership and management right now, maybe it's a tough decision time. They're hesitant to say we need to rebuild this thing and try to win 3 or 4 years from now. They know they have great fans. They know they have a great ballpark, a great franchise. A lot has gone well in Baltimore since 2012, since Buck and Dan showed up. And so maybe they're wrestling with that right now, what to do.
I think it's, especially when you're in a medium or small size market, and in the Orioles case, like the Rays and even like Toronto, where you're competing against two teams with much bigger revenues and thus much bigger payrolls, do you want to send the message to fans and say, we're not competing for the next 3 years? That's essentially what that would be. That's what the Marlins are doing now. It's what the Astros did at one point. Obviously, it worked out wonderfully for them. I think the White Sox have kind of said that. They haven't been as explicit, but they've traded away all their veterans, and the clear implication is we're rebuilding. We're not going to be very good for the next few years. We're going to get better after that because of the young players we acquired. I get the sense that the Orioles, and this may come from ownership, they don't want to do that. They don't want to turn to the fans and say, be patient, it's going to be 3 or 4 years, we will get there, but we're turning it over. It's more that we still have this core. We've got one last year of Manning, one last year of Zach. Let's just see if we can squeeze another playoff run out of it.
Last thing, I know your top 100 for prospects will come out, into the new year.
Yeah, I got to write that at some point.
And so you haven't looked at it all yet, obviously. But having said that, Hayes and Mountcastle and maybe more from the Orioles, are they top 100 guys right now?
They're all going to be in that group that would be, I would say, sort of 75 to 125. So they're going to be in the collection of players who could make the back end of the list. And I've seen those play. Hayes and Mountcastle I've seen quite a bit. I like them both. I think they're both good prospects with upside, but with some current flaws. Obviously, this could change with development. I think a lot of it's going to come down to what I then hear from scouts and from team analysts, too. So it's a big part of my process, talking to as many people as I can, even players I've seen, like those guys, because I saw them both in Bowie. I saw Mountcastle in the Fall League. But I want other opinions on that, too, because I get a limited look. I want to try to collect as many looks as I can. And now with Hayes, too, we have a little big league data, too, which means there's some TrackMan information. Like the teams, I'm now trying to incorporate that into my rankings, too.
A lot to take in.
Yes, it is.
Folks, he's busy. Smart Baseball, the book is out, and all his great work at ESPN and ESPN.com. Keith, thanks so much for taking time with us today.
My pleasure.
And for those who have watched today here on MASN All Access, this probably will wrap up our day. We'll tell you this, if there's some breaking news later today with the Orioles, we'll come back with some live coverage here on the MASN All Access. If not, We'll catch you tomorrow around 11 a.m. with more coverage. So thanks for watching today. Thanks to Keith. Thanks for all the crew behind the scenes here on MASN All Access.